Yo, what's going on, man? Today is August the 31st. Welcome into the ChrisBeCappinn NBA slash WNBA slash NFL show. We only got one game on the board for today, but I still wanted to come on and break it down and share my thoughts, get the thoughts of the chat as always, and we'll do a quick recap as we always do, and then jump into a couple of the comments and jump into the one game. We also got a big slate, so maybe even a potential look ahead to tomorrow's slate. I think it's 4 games tomorrow, but might be 5 games tomorrow. But we got lines for 2 already, so I am interested to see how this game goes, especially with the Sun being on the first leg of a back-to-back. So let's jump into a couple of the quick couple comments real quick, and then we can we'll go ahead and get started, get this one game out of the rut. And before we do that, let's do a quick recap. So yesterday was a really kind of weird day. I bet Minnesota minus 5.5. They were the only favorite that didn't cover last night, losing that game outright to the Dallas Wings in Dallas last night. I mean, Dallas been pummeling teams right now, man. So it's going to be interesting to see how that game goes tomorrow. Dallas actually got a game against the Indiana Fever tomorrow that I do have a look on that I want to share with you guys. But Minnesota, I think they got killed in the paint, gave up 40 points in the paint. Coach Cheryl Reed says that they just didn't match the physicality of the Minnesota Lynx. And I thought that they would have wanted to get the Minnesota Lynx back after beating them earlier this season in Minnesota. So really love that play. All the plays that I talked about that were on the short list pretty much cashed outside of the unders. I know a lot of people like Seattle last night. Wrong side. It was New York in a bounce back spot. The Atlanta Dream Team total under 77.5 was another winner. The Indiana Fever were another winner. So I just ended up taking a play that was a loser, but it's all good, man. We'll get it back and get some more as well. So now let's go through a couple of the quick comments, and then we'll move on to the game that we got for today. Aaron says, "Good morning, Chris and community. The Lynx ruined my night. Now I got to start rethinking how good I thought they are." Yeah, honestly, I don't know if it was them, Aaron. I really kind of think it was just the Wings. Like, I think the Wings are starting to find the rhythm. You got Satu back for 5 or 6 games. Terrell McCown playing a lot better. This is what the Wings looked like last year for people who are new. They were killing people on the boards, real physical team. And then when Enrique is making her shots, which she was last night, you just tip your hat, because they smoked Minnesota last night, 94-76. They didn't even let up in the fourth quarter. I think they outscored them every single quarter outside of the second. So, you tip your cap. Dallas shot 39% from the 3-point line, 48% from the field. Like I said, they killed them on the rebounds as well. Tierra McCown had 11 and 11. Satu had 18 last night. She's playing a lot better. 8 rebounds, 6 assists. That's the Satu we remember from last year. And then when you get an efficient Enrique Ogumawale, not that 11 for 24 is super efficient, but she did knock down 3 of her 9 threes and had 25 points. The bench contributed. I mean, one thing Dallas is going to do is score the basketball. We'll talk a little bit more about them maybe towards the end of the show. Mark says, "Good morning, Chris and crew. Yesterday, Fever was good. Lynx were not. Not so much. Today, we will be better." Reminding everybody, hit the like button on the way in. Appreciate you as always, Mark. Marquis says, "Rise and grind, people." Jalen says, "Morning, Chad and Chris. Hit the like button. It's free." Appreciate that as well. Jalen. Timeout Sports says, "Lynx shaking my head." Yeah, they didn't look good last night, but 6-0 straight up and against the number. You would have thought, like I said, I would have thought they would have had the one to take care of business last night. But you do for a letdown spot and some regression eventually. What's up, OJ? Matt says Minnesota and Djokovic. Ball Talk says got to put Seattle on the do not bet list right now. Yeah, I told y'all about the Liberty. I think Seattle kind of sort of to like Satu coming back and changing the trajectory of the Dallas Wings post All-Star break. I think you'll see the same thing with Gabby Williams. You just kind of got to get her acclimated, and they got to be playing against a team that's not one of the better teams. But they got to figure it out defensively. Giving up 90 points not going to get it done, and you would think that, adding somebody like Gabby Williams would help the defense a little bit more, and it has not. I mean, I know Jordan Houston, I think, came back last night. I fell asleep on the game. But, they did not look good last night, especially defensively. They were scoring, but they could not get a stop last night. Stewie went back to Seattle and hit him with a 30 ball. What's up, Dropping Dimes? He says, "I'm just going to tell your picks in red." They have been cashing, man. I got the WNBA is so janky at times that I don't always trust the looks, but I know that they're the right looks because I do the work, right? And I just don't want to be in the red, so it's easier for me to make one play than to make 3 or 4 plays. And typically, I'd rather make that one play, but maybe I will start, just putting a couple dollars on, kind of dividing my units out accordingly. But yeah, we'll jump into it for today. Appreciate everybody for jumping into the comments section. Let's get into the game that we got on the board. We got we got Connecticut and Washington. Just very quickly, let me see. So looks like it opened 154.5 and down to 154. And then we also got the Connecticut Sun. Look like they opened 8. They up to 8.5 point favorites. Looks like it's the consensus right now, which is what you guys see on the screen. So situationally, you guys can see that the Connecticut Sun, 2 days rest. Both of these teams have equal rest, 2 days rest. This is the last of a 3-game road trip for the Connecticut Sun, where it's the first game back home for the Washington Mystics after a 2-game road trip. And the Connecticut Sun also on the first leg of a back-to-back. They got the Seattle Storm coming into the Mohegan Center tomorrow. So really, I don't like the spot for, like, that tells me when I look at the spot for the two teams, it tells me that, I'm automatically looking towards Minnesota based off the spot. Injury report wise, Connecticut has a clean injury report outside of Tiffany Mitchell, who has missed the last handful of games. I'm not sure if she's played since the Olympic break. And on the Washington side, Shakira Austin has already been ruled out for this game. This will be her second straight game that she missed. She also missed the game against the Chicago Sky 2 days ago. So I look at the Sun, right? So now you get into it. I look at the Sun. You can see, middle orange. They are not profitable on the road so far this season. Only 7-8 against the number. And since the Olympic break, just 2-4 against the number. I think they've won 4 of their 6 games, but they've only covered 2 of those games since the Olympic break. And Washington, they don't look now, man, but they're playing a little bit better. Playing some defense recently as well. These numbers are accurate. The Sun are the worst offensive rated team and the best defensive rated team. The Mystics, bottom 3 offensive rating last 5 games, but they are number 2 defensively over the last 5 games. And you just look back what they've done recently. They held the Chicago Sky to 70 points. Now, granted, that was without Kennedy Carter. They held Seattle to 72 points in Seattle. And then before they went on the road trip, they had the Sparks last weekend, and the Sparks only scored 74 points against them in that game. So this defense has been playing a lot better. I'm not sure, exactly what it's been, but we saw it even in the last game without Shakira Austin, which was somewhat surprising to me. Granted, like I said, it was no Kennedy Carter in that game. So when I look at the head-to-head matchup, this will be the 4th matchup of the season. Connecticut has won all 3, but they've only covered 1 of the 3, and they've beaten Washington 9 straight times. So that makes me want to look towards the dog in the spot as well. Situationally, I look at a couple trends before I get into the X's and O's. And road favorites are not really covering a lot of numbers this year for whatever reason. I looked at road favorites that are laying 7.5 points or more, and they're just 7-15-1 against the number, covering less than 32% of the time. They're 1-11-1 in the last 13 instances as well, and that's just this season. So I'm not really into laying points, especially with a team that can struggle offensively. Like I said, the bottom left corner, you guys can see in orange, the Suns' offense is the worst, and you got a Minnesota Lynx. I keep saying Minnesota Lynx, a Washington Mystics defense that is number 2 rated over the last 5 games. So I don't want to lay points here with the Sun. Trend wise, I look at home dogs seeking same season double revenge, which the Washington Mystics are. And those games typically are under games, 129, 85, and 4 to the under. In the Give Me the Dog database, about 61% of those games are going under. In this season, 9 and 7 to the under. So not too terrible, too reliable there, but that is about 56%. Then we break it down to X's and O's, and I love when we only have 1 game because I can really deep dive into it. So when I look in the last 5 games, which, I think it's been 6 games since the Sun have returned from the Olympic break. They played 6 games. Connecticut's offense, I talked about them being the worst offensive rated team. This was why I like, their team total under against the Indiana Fever in their last game that they lost. And this is also why I liked the Indiana Fever plus the 4. They ended up winning that game outright. Is because I still don't trust the Connecticut Sun offense. Offensively, last 5 games, they're in the bottom half of the league in restricted area field goal percentage, in paint field goal percentage, in mid-range field goal percentage, and above the break 3 field goal percentage. You're gonna have to step. You if you like Washington in this spot, you definitely gonna need Stephanie Dawson and Aaliyah Edwards to step up and play well against Bree Jones and Alyssa Thomas, of course. But I think that they're capable of it. I just don't want to bet on Connecticut's offense, especially, on the first leg of a back-to-back. You got the early start time because this game starts at 3 p.m. And then I look at Washington's offense. They've also struggled. 10th in free throw rate. They're not getting to the free throw line. They're turning the ball over at the highest rate. And they're 10th in offensive rating over the last 5 games. So what does all of that lead me to? It leads me to, first, I like the first half under. 78.5 on some books, but the best line that I saw was 79.5 over on DraftKings. I think DraftKings is the only place that had a 79.5. A couple places got a 79. And then, like I said, a lot of 78.5s. But I like the first half under just because both of these teams have been playing some really good defense as of late. The early start time, like I mentioned, could throw off body clocks. And you got the Connecticut Sun, worst offensive rated team. Both of these teams, bottom 3 in offensive rating over the last 5 games. Washington team that is number 2 in restricted area field goal percentage over their last 5 games. Connecticut interior defense is solid, though. They're allowing teams to shoot just 55%, which is the 4th best over the last 5 games. And what does Washington like to do? They like to take a lot of threes. Last 5 games, they are 5th in attempts, 7th in makes. But Connecticut's defense is pretty good against the 3-point line. The number 2 are defending above the break 3, holding teams to under 21% over their last 5 games. Outside of the Indiana Fever, who lit them up, that was the only team that's really been able to shoot the ball really well against Connecticut. So I think that they, can limit Washington from being able to make some of those threes because they know that's what Washington wants to do. They faced this team, 3 times already this season, and probably got a bad taste in their mouth after what Caitlin Clark did to them in that last game. So I do expect them to be turned up in this game, but I'm not expecting them to score the basketball a lot. The other thing I wanted to mention really quickly is Washington relies heavily on fast break points. They're 3rd in the league over the last 5 games. Connecticut is top 2 in limited fast break points. So I don't think it's going to be a lot of ways for Washington to be able to score the basketball. I do think they'll play a little bit faster. If you've been watching their games with Shakira Austin being back versus how they were playing before she returned, they have been playing a little bit. They play a little bit faster when she's not in. Because I think they try to give her the basketball a little bit more. Without her, they shoot a lot more threes, which makes a lot of sense. She can, kill you in the mid-range and definitely in the restricted area. So I do like the first half under. I also considered Washington team total over. The number is 72.5. It's just a really, really low number. When totals get below 154, 155-ish, I typically am very, very hesitant to want to play it pre-game. And if I do play it, it'll probably be live. I look at Washington, and they're over in 2 of the 3 games so far against Connecticut. I would argue that Connecticut's defense is a little bit worse than it was before the trade because I feel like they're playing a little bit faster. So you're liable to give up a few more points since the Marina Mabry trade. That's just my opinion, even though they are number 1 in defensive rating over the last 5 games. And I look at Connecticut, they've given up 73 or more in 4 of their last 6 games since they made the trade for Marina Mabry. So I do like Washington team total over 72.5. I'm a little bit conflicted because I want to take the points at plus 8.5. I'm not laying with the Sun here. And I do like the first half under 79.5 as well. I know I said a lot. Let's see what you guys are thinking about this one. And then we can look into tomorrow. I might be able to live cap a couple of these because I do got a couple minutes this morning. Y'all let me know if y'all want to live cap any of the games for tomorrow. And if so, which ones y'all want me to look at. So go check your ESPN app. Let me know which games y'all want me to look at, and I'll look at them real quick. Mark says, I like this comment right here. He says, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston fun to watch. Man, they are so fun to watch, Mark. Like I thoroughly enjoy watching Caitlin Clark, man. She is an absolute baller. Man, Caitlin Clark is really good at basketball. Like, boy, I wish I could have got some futures with her MVP because I mean not MVP, but her rookie of the year like when it was, not minus 5,000, which is what it should be right now. They're really, really fun to watch, man. They just spread the basketball so well. It's very, very reminiscent of almost like an NBA style. Jalen says Mystics first half plus the 4.5. No way I could talk you off of that, Jalen. Makes a ton of sense. When I look at the numbers, because I was looking at this as well, they have been good in the first half. And I think I put this on the short list as well. Washington is against the spread in the first half. They are, I think I had, so outside of Washington being really good in the first half, which I'm glad Jalen mentioned this, outside of them being really good in the first half, Washington is also 3-0 in the first half in the head-to-head matchup. So they've covered every time that they've played the Suns so far this season. 3-0 straight, 3-0 ATS in the first half. They've covered every single game and covered 2 of the full spreads for the full game as well. So yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And then you just look at, for the full season, we know Washington, they typically can run out of gas late. That always holds me up from taking them for the full game. But they are, 29-2? 29-2 against the spread in the first half. 8-4-1 against the spread in the first half as a home dog as well. And the Sun, on the first leg of a back-to-back, 0-2 against the number for the full season. So, yeah, some reasons to like the Sun. I'm sorry, to watch the Mystics for sure, Jalen. If I had a first half bet, that's the way I would look. Dirty Reg says I'll probably go under on Alyssa Thomas for the Sun, 26.5. She'll rebound and get a few assists. I just don't see her scoring much with that one-handed shot. A lot of it can be layups too, man. And I tell you, the thing that would scare me off of this just a little bit, Dirty Reg, is that when I look at the Washington Mystics, when I look at them defensively, real quick, let me just see. So when I look at Washington defensively, they are turning the ball over the most in the WNBA. And that's scary because we know Connecticut, they thrive on getting out and running in transition. Washington throughout the full season, number 1 in turnover rate. Last 10 games, number 1 in turnover rate. Last 5 games, number 1 in turnover rate. And the Connecticut Sun, they like to get out and run. Real quick, Connecticut is, that's how they like to score easy buckets so they don't have to set up in the transition. They're number 1 in points off turnovers. So that's a major disadvantage for the Washington Mystics here. If they get out there turning the ball over, the Connecticut Sun will absolutely take advantage of that. Number 1 full season, number 1 last 10 games, number 1 last 5 games are the Connecticut Sun with points off turnovers. They typically capitalize on those. Mark says Mystics first half were automatic. Are they still rolling that way? I think they failed to cover a couple of them, but I think it's just because the play style has changed just a little bit, Mark. Adding Shakira Austin back. Good morning, sir. Appreciate you for tapping in. Dropping Dime says, don't look now, but the Mystics and the Wings are only 2 games behind the Sky for the 8th spot. It's interesting. I said this yesterday. I said, the Chicago Sky and the Atlanta Dream are kind of duking it out for that last spot. Neither team is winning. They both have lost like 5 or 6 games in a row. Meanwhile, the Dallas Wings have won 3 games in a row, and the Washington Mystics have won 3 games in a row. So let me make sure I got up 3 fingers. Yeah, won 3 games in a row. So yeah, both of the teams that had no chance are, looking like they got a chance now because Chicago and Atlanta, neither team can buy a win right now. Ball Talk says sharp calls, Chris. I hope so. If I end up playing one of them, I hope they're sharp. I haven't locked anything in yet. Jalen says Mystics have covered 8.5 2 of the 3 games this season. They also cover first half plus 4.5 all 3 meetups. I think he means matchups. Yeah, I agree. Mark says tomorrow, Wings and Fever. We'll talk about it. And he says links again. We can get into those. Cup of Joe says I don't trust the Sun, but morning people. Malik, what up, man? Hope all is well with you in the Chi-Town. Malik, he says anybody city looking for a WNBA team, I'm giving away the Sky. I think they're gonna be all right, man. They just, they were in a real tough predicament with not being able to score the basketball, and then you don't got Kennedy Carter. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's really tough. Prestigious Prodigy, sending love right back to you, bro. He says, shout out to you, Chris. Love the show and appreciate everything you do. Appreciate you for tapping in, Prestigious Project. I know you always hitting the like button too. Appreciate that, my brother. All right. So yeah, if I'm looking at this game, man, like I said, I like first half under 79.5 over on DraftKings, the best number. I do think Washington can get there on the 72.5 as well. It's just a super low total, man. Maybe if I play it, it'll be live. And then I couldn't talk anybody off Washington in the first half as well. Like I said, just don't like the spot as much for Connecticut with them having a game tomorrow. And they got Seattle tomorrow too. So yeah. Let's look really quickly at games for tomorrow. I think go back to my guy Mark in the chat. He says Fever versus Wings tomorrow. So let's look into it real quick. Fever and Wings for tomorrow. So we'll go. And I should probably take this off. Let's go. So make it easier for me. So before we get into, matter of fact, let's get into top plays and then we'll go Fever Wings. So Connecticut, Washington, I talked about the reasons why I like the first half under, why I'd be looking towards Washington in the first half. There was a 5 out there available. If you got Bet-Fred, I saw plus 6.5 of Washington in the first half. Juice to like minus 125, but that was the best number that I saw. But I put the one that's probably widely available for most people. And then Washington plus 8.5, the only way I would look. I'm not laying points with Connecticut. Those are just my thoughts. But I do like their team total over 72.5 as well. So a lot of different ways I'm looking. Nothing really stands out a little bit more than anything else right now, though. So, all right, now let's go Washington and let's go Fever and Wings for tomorrow, like my guy Mark said in the chat. So I haven't looked too much into the game. I do have, I know what I'm thinking about betting. First thing I'll look at is spot, right? So we got the Fever coming off the big win. They ended up winning that game last night by 19 points, scored 100 points. I think a season high 100 points against the Chicago Sky. Caitlin Clark had a season high 31 points, I think it was. A career high 31 points last night. And she was the first player in WNBA history, I think, with 31 points and 12 assists. So, like I said, Caitlin Clark she's hooping right now. She's balling. Spot for the Fever. So second leg of a 2-game road trip before they go back home and play the LA Sparks. That game will be played probably on like Tuesday or Wednesday. And the Indiana Fever have won every game since the Olympic break outside of the game against the Lynx, who probably playing, number 1, number 2 team right now. And it's been their offense, right? I keep talking about this. The Fever at home, you typically want to bet on their defense. Fever on the road, you typically want to bet on their offense. Their offense has looked a little bit better on the road than it feels like it has at home. So, Dallas Wings, this will be 4th straight home game of a 5-game home stand. They got the Washington Mystics coming into town on the 3rd. So Indiana has a day rest after the game, an extra day's rest after the game. That's one of the things I like to look at. Head-to-head wise, I do remember the last matchup. It was the game before the Olympic break. The last game before the Olympic break, and Dallas was getting 4 points in that game. They ended up winning 101-93. That was the first time that these two teams have played all season. If you guys remember that game, I think it might have been, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Helms in the comment section talking about laddering Caitlin Clark assists. This was the game that she broke the assist record for people who remember that. Caitlin Clark ended up with 19 assists, 24 points, and Aaliyah Boston as well. She had 28 points. They could not stop her. And Dallas defense on the interior has been pretty weak, and that's an advantage for the Indiana Fever, in my opinion. On the offensive end, though, Arike Ogunbowale ended up with 24 points. She had 7 assists. She had 7 rebounds. JC Sheldon had 11. Natasha Howard had 17. Tara McCowan had 10. And they got big contributions from IDC Sims. 24 points off the bench on 10 for 17 shooting and 3 for 7 from the three-point line. Kalani Brown also had 13 points off the bench. So if I'm looking at the game, I mean, that's the preliminary stuff. If I'm looking at the game, Spot doesn't say anything. The injury report, I think, should be pretty clean. I don't think anybody got hurt in the games that they played last night. I'm liking over 180.5. And, it's fairly simple. It's just how I look at these teams and how they're playing right now. Both of them are playing really, really fast. I don't want to fade the Wings right now. The Wings are they're clearly they're putting it together and figuring it out. 3-0 straight up in their last 3 games. First 3-game winning streak all season, even though they only 6-19 on the full season. That tells you something. A team that only had 3 wins and now they got 3 wins in a row. That's pretty telling. So they've covered against against the Minnesota Lynx last night, against the Aces, winning both of those games. And it's been their offense. 94 points last night against the Lynx, which is, top 5 defense. And they scored 93 against the Aces as well. So if I match these 2 teams up on the floor, this is what I typically do when I'm handicapping the games. If I'm looking at I want to look at the Dallas Wings offense first versus the Indiana Fever defense. So offensive rating immediately goes through the roof. Dallas is number 2 in offensive rating over the last 5 games, number 3 in effective field goal percentage, number 5 in free throw rate, number 4 in turnover percentage, not turning the ball over, and number 3 in offensive rebounding rate. So this is a team that rebounds the ball really, really well, and they score a lot of points in the paint as well. They are number 4 in pace and number 1 in points in the paint over the last 5 games. Number 2 on the full season. Number 4 in fast break points and number 1 in second chance points as well, because they clean up on the offensive rebound. Where do they score the basketball? It's typically on the interior. They're not the greatest 3-point shooting team, even though over the last 5 games, they're number 3 and above the break 3 field goal percentage, shooting 36% on the full season, only shooting 32%, which is number 9 in the WNBA. But the last 5 games, they're number 1 in restricted area makes. They're number 3 in mid-range field goal percentage. Mid-range and right? Paint, restricted area, that's where they score in the basketball. The Fever's defense has been really, really good, though. In that area, they are number 3 in restricted area, restricted area field goal percentage, holding teams to about 54%. Whereas you look at the Wings, they're shooting 65% in the restricted area. So something's going to have to give there. Aaliyah Boston is going to be, really needed. Timmy Bagley is going to be really needed as well. Let's see. Paint makes, Indiana Fever number 1. Paint attempts, Indiana Fever number 1. Paint field goal percentage, Indiana Fever number 3, holding teams to about 29%. So the Fever's defense has been really good over the last 5 games. Mid-range field goal percentage, Indiana Fever number 1 over the last 5 games. But above the break 3 field goal percentage, this is where you can get to Indiana. On the full season, they're the worst 3-point defense in the WNBA, allowing teams to shoot 39%. On the full last 5 games, allowing teams to shoot 40%, which is actually the 3rd worst. And they give up fast break points, about 11 per game, which puts them bottom 3. But they do a good job of limiting points off turnovers. Number 5 in second chance points as well, giving up about 10.5 per game. And points in the paint, they are allowing the 3rd fewest. So, that's going to be an interesting matchup to see if Dallas bigs are going to be able to take advantage of the Indiana Fever. But Indiana's offense as well. So if we flip it and we go Indiana Fever's offense, and we look at Dallas defensively, last 5 games, Fever offense, number 3, number 2 in effective field goal percentage, doing a pretty good job of taking care of the basketball, 4th in offensive rebound rate, 2nd in points per game, averaging 88 per contest after scoring 100 last night. Assist percentage is 8th, so they're not really sharing the ball too well. It looks like they are. 4th in rebound rate, 2nd in true field goal percentage, 5th in pace. Like I said, Dallas is 4th in pace, so these teams getting up and down the floor for sure. And where has Indiana been shooting the ball from? Number 1 in restricted area attempts, because they get a lot of layups running to the rim. Number 4 in makes. They are shooting the worst field goal percentage in the restricted area, only 51.5%. It's crazy because they're still scoring the basketball so well. Offensive efficiency is crazy. They are number 1 in paint field goal percentage, shooting about 48.5%. And the best 3-point shooting team in the WNBA right now. Number 1 in makes, number 1 in attempts, and number 1 in above the break 3 field goal percentage, shooting it at 40%. So yeah, you look at the Dallas Wings defense looking at them, defending the 3-point line. They're allowing teams to shoot the 9th most attempts, so that's a lot. The 11th most attempts. So they're allowing teams to shoot about 10 per game, and they're allowing teams to make the 3rd most threes as well. But their field goal percentage has been pretty good. They are holding teams to under 30%, which is 4th over the last 5 games, and that's been a big improvement for them defensively. They're 10th on the full season. So looking at the miscellaneous numbers, Indiana is 3rd in points off turnovers. Dallas's defense is allowing the 6th most. Second chance points, Indiana is 6th. Dallas allowing the 8th most. Fast break points, Indiana is 5th. Dallas getting cleaned up in that category. They are allowing the 3rd most. Points in the paint, Indiana is 9th. So they're not really scoring a lot of points in the paint over the last 5 games. On the full season, they're still 4th though. And Dallas still giving it up, but their defense has improved a lot. On the full season, they're giving up about 41 points per contest in the paint. Over the last 5 games, only 36. So that drops them from 12th over the full season down to 7th, which is a little bit more respectable over the last 5 games. So really, really interesting game. I think this game goes up and over the total. I know that the total is really high, but that's the only way that I would look. Over 170, 78 and a half, over 180 and a half. And I might have to reconsider that, looking into the numbers, honestly, because that was my initial look. I only want to play, Dallas games up and over the total. That's the only way that I feel like they've been going recently. The game last night did stay under. They were able to hold Minnesota, to just 76 points. But this Fever offense not something I want to bet an under on right now either. And the Fever defense could, especially coming off a game against Chicago that didn't have Kennedy Clark, they could, kind of trend in the opposite way. But I can't bet an under in Dallas games right now. They scored 113 against the Sparks, 93 against Vegas, and 94 against the Minnesota Lynx. I look at Indiana offense, 100 last night against Chicago, 84 against Connecticut. That's one of the better defenses in the WNBA. 84 against the Atlanta Dream, 92 against Seattle, and 98 against Phoenix. Like, these are not 2 defenses I want to trust right now. So yeah, that's the deep dive of the game, man. I'll add a chapter so you guys can see that. But yeah, it's a deep dive, live deep dive for you guys, for people that are interested. Let's see what comments came in real quick. Fever are clicking right now. Hard to bet against them. Yeah, same are the Dallas Wings though, especially when you beat the Lynx. I put people on notice for sure. Mark says, I see, eliminate the side and go for the over. That's what I was thinking. I don't really like it as much, but I still think it can get up and over. 179 and a half is such a high number though. You're really betting on both teams to get to, 90 points. You need a 90-90 game. Dougie Bone says, total might be up to 190 by tomorrow morning. Yeah, I do see, just to that point, I saw this at 179 this morning when I first woke up. And I do see it moving to 180 already. 179, it looks like it's the best number over on Bet365 right now. It's 180 right now on 180 and a half on ESPN Bet, 180 on FanDuel. So yeah, I see 3 books right now that have it available. And yeah, I don't think it's coming down. Let's just say that. I don't think it's coming down. Dropping Dimes just putting 2 unit on the Wings. Win total over 10 and a half when the Olympic break ended. It looked bad at first, but I figured they would put it together at some point. They absolutely have. Mike says he likes the Fever team total over tomorrow. Let's see real quick. The Fever team total specifically is 91 and a half. That's high. The Dallas Wings team total is 88 and a half. And if you've been fading the Dallas Wings defense, you've been losing money. They just held Vegas under. Remember, we were on 92 and a half. Vegas got to 90. If you were on the Lynx, I don't even know what the Lynx team total was, but I know it's higher than 76 and a half, and they held the Lynx to 76 points as well. So I'm not saying that the Fever can't come in here and, score the basketball, because they absolutely can. The last time they played right before the break, that game was in Dallas, and they scored 101, and they scored 93 in that spot. They just gave up 101. So It's a difficult game for sure. Kelsey Mitchell gonna light it up from behind the 3-point line. Dirty Rig says. Dropping Dime says Wings opponent's team total for the season is 24-6-1 to the over on this full season. It was something like 22-1-1. I feel like Dropping Dime. So their defense has been playing a little bit better recently. Real quick, let's look at Wings since the Olympic break and see how many times they've held their opponent under their team total. They're 4-2 to the over. They've held three of their 6 opponents under. They held the Liberty to 79 points. And held them under their team total by 13.5. They held the Aces under by 5.5, and they held the Lynx under by 12.5 last night. So, yeah, they're clicking right now, and it's a little bit on the offensive end. The defense is playing a little bit better as well, but I don't think I'm trusting them against the Fever offense. So I think I'll be right there with you. He says, shout out to RC and the Money Baller, worth every penny, and I agree with that as well. Dropping Dimes. Kilo, what's going on, bro? Hope all is well. He says the total might be a good underplay. Both teams might be exhausted after pulling off these crazy wins. A contrarian under is probably going to be able to get there. If you like the under, keep letting it go up because this probably will close about 184, 183.5, something like that. I do see about 3 points. This going up about 3 or 4 points, and it'll be some sharp money that comes back in on the under. Because you really just need 1 quarter from either team, and it probably is going to go under. 85 to 90 is not going to get you to 180. So, I'm right there with you, Kilo. I initially liked the over. Now that I look a little bit deeper into it, I don't know, man. It's a little more interesting now. Dirty Rig says, I'm going Kelsey Mitchell over on her 3-point field goals. Okay. And then the only other game we got line for right now is the Connecticut and Seattle game. And that looks like Connecticut is favored by 1 point. And the total is about 76.5. Team total 76.5 to 75.5. Connecticut is laying 2. I see some 2.5s as well. And Seattle has been god awful against the spread in their last few games, man. Seattle since the Olympic break, I still don't think they've covered a game yet. They're gonna get it right eventually, but they're 0-6 against the number since the Olympic break. And it's been their defense. They really struggled defensively. 4 of their 6 opponents have gone up and over their team total, but we'll save that for tomorrow, man. We'll save that for tomorrow. Mark says, thanks for the breakdown and look, Chris and crew. Best of luck today. Hit the like button on your way out. Appreciate that, Mark. And let me get up off here as well, man. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Like I said, going back to this game, if the game that we have on the board for today, I didn't even deep dive into any of the player props, but Washington Connecticut first half under. I'm probably going to end up getting there. I do think it's start time, all of those things that I said in the breakdown. I think definitely make me lean towards the under here. Connecticut 3-point defense. Washington probably shooting a bunch of more threes, in my opinion, just because no Shakira Austin. Don't think they're going to be able to score in the interior. So I like the first half under. But I do think Washington can keep it close. So if I had to rate these, it would be first half under, Washington plus 8.5. And Washington first half is not necessarily anything that I would bet against. I do like that as well, but I'm definitely not making 3 plays. Couldn't talk anybody off of playing it live. We'll see how that goes. But maybe I'll end up on a live play as well if I end up watching the game, which I should be able to. And that's the show for today, man. Resources as always are here. Definitely check out OzGym if you guys have never done so. You can use referral code CBC as you see it posted here for 20% off your first month. The link for this is in the description of the video. Same thing with Money Baller, but the boys, they get me right, man. 50% off your first billing cycle using code ChrisBeCappinn if you guys are interested in checking it out. And as Dropping Dime said, man, he pointed out this trend here. Wings team total for the season, 24-6-1 are their opponents to the over. And then he says, shout out to RC and the Money Baller, worth every penny. And I absolutely agree with that, man. Definitely check those guys out and see what they have to offer. Do it for yourself. Evaluate it for yourself and see what you think. There's also Give Me the Dog, Killer Sports, and Cleaning the Glass at the bottom, other resources that I use to handicap the games. Hopefully, I'm going to go ahead and handicap the games for tomorrow offline. And while I got a couple minutes, and hopefully when the lines come out and we get the injury report for tomorrow, we can go ahead and lock in a couple plays early before the lines start to move for tomorrow. Because like I said, it is 5 games, I think, on the board. So big WNBA slate for tomorrow, man. If you guys enjoyed the show, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. It definitely helps the algorithm. If you guys are new, definitely subscribe to the channel. If you guys are just, always in the comments and you haven't subscribed, subscribe as well. But like and share. Let me know what you guys are betting in the comment section as well. Link for all my official plays are in the description. We'll have NFL plays for week 1 coming very, very soon as well. Bet responsibly. Best of luck, man. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy your Saturday. I'm out.